Chapter 8. Ocean Jungle. Troy took the super sub down fairly steeply. Some of the floes drifting out from the ice shelf were like baby bergs, with far more of their bulk beneath the waterline than above it. And without scanners to locate them quickly, there was a very real risk of striking one in a shallow dive. The light green of the surface strata, clouded by myriads of shrimps, darkened gradually to blue. A sleek, dark shape, with a hideous snake-like head and a spotted undercoat, suddenly dashed into the lights and swerved away as if in panic.
Sea leopard! And a killer whale after its lunch. It's the only thing the leopard's afraid of.
I sure don't give much for old Spotty's chances.
Don't waste your sympathy on it, pal. It's a killer, too.
I read that its favorite dish is penguin. It kills them awfully cruelly, too. I'm glad I didn't turn Penelope adrift now.
There's a school of Nototinia. Very prolific in these waters. Seals thrive on it. Supposed to taste like whiting if you fry it.
Reckon the seals don't fry it. There's no live and let live down here, I guess.
Is there anywhere in the ocean? It's a jungle.
Sure. And one of the worst critters in it is Titan. It would do my poor heart good to see him being chased by a killer whale.
I never dreamed there were so many fish this far south. I mean, being so cold.
The cold's the reason, Atlanta. It's an ideal breeding ground for plankton because the cold water holds gases like nitrogen better than warm water. And plankton provides fodder for shrimps, who are the fodder for fish and whales. And the fish feed the seals and the penguins.
And the penguins feed the sea leopards. It's a real vicious merry-go-round. Hold it, Troy, or we'll be feeding something.
Spotted something, Phones?
It looks like ice straight ahead.
Too big and low for a floe. And there were no bergs between us and the ice barrier when we submerged. Must be the barrier itself. Stand by.
They peered down the beam of the searchlight as Stingray edged on. Then they saw it. A great wall of ice, glistening blue-white in the beam and stretching away into the darkness in all directions. Captain Tempest swung Stingray and steered parallel to the ice wall at a distance of about 50 feet, descending slowly all the time. Even without scanners to aid them, Troy and Phones were pretty accurate in their estimates of depth, in the higher oceans levels particularly, where the color of the water was some guide.
Reckon we must be about 2,000 feet down, Phones.
Sure. I've been calculating from the dive angle and our speed, and it checks out, Troy.
There's no break in that cliff of ice.
Continuing descent.
3,000 feet, I reckon. The charts say there should be around 3,500 hereabouts. That sure is a lot of ice.
It's plenty thicker than that in places. Just imagine it all melting in a hurry. It would flood every low-lying area in the world a couple of 100 feet deep, the scientists reckon.
Guess we better watch where we light bonfires down here.
Quit worrying. Those same eggheads estimate there's not enough atomic energy in the world to melt it. Although I wouldn't like to bet on that.
A safe bet. Nobody's ever likely to try.
At last they reached the bottom of the cliff. It was cut away cleanly, and the dark ocean stretched away beneath it, awesome and forbidding.
Here goes. The charts say we've still got 3,000 feet of water below us. No sign of the scanners working yet, Phones?
No. Not a spark from the radio either, so it looks as though the screen's still operating.
Okay. Lookout stations, everybody. We want to locate a canyon or tunnel running south.
Obliquely, they descended, heading slowly under the vast field of ice, on and on into the blackness of a primeval world that had never seen the light of day. There was a tight feeling in Troy's stomach. It wasn't the first time he had ventured under an ice cap in Stingray. There were regular freighter submarine routes to patrol under the Arctic ice cap. But below that, it was mainly water, and at intervals, there were guide sonar beacons to assist navigation. Down here, maybe no vessel had ever preceded them, and Stingray was traveling blind, robbed of the sensitive navigational aids that were like eyes and feelers to it. Somewhere ahead, even watching them, perhaps with instruments that had been capable of throwing powerful long-range force screens around Stingray, was an unknown enemy. Down, down, down. Marina suddenly gripped his shoulder and pointed downwards, ahead of the diving nose of his vessel.
Seen something, huh? Guess you're always one step ahead of us down here, Marina. What is it? Canyon, eh? Stand by. This could be it. How much water do you reckon there is between us and the main landmass, Phones?
Maybe 25 miles. It's not easy to calculate without scanners. The ice area isn't constant, and the charts only show an approximate boundary.
25. That's 15 minutes at reconnaissance cruise rate. We'll have to watch it, Phones, or we'll hit trouble.
Marina signed eagerly to him and gestured through the window ahead.
You want to guide us, huh? I know I suggested it earlier, but... Okay, Marina, but keep your eyes skinned for trouble. It's a bit deep for killer fish, but... Well, I guess you know the risks better than I do. Good luck.
Won't you need anything? That water is deadly freezing, and the pressure is enormous.
Atlanta offered Marina an insulated deep-sea diving suit. Marina smiled and shook her head, giving her friend a reassuring pat on the shoulder. Anxiously, her three friends watched as Marina emerged from the airlock hatch and swam ahead to the stationary submarine, her long hair streaming out gracefully behind her. Normally, they could speak with Marina over the hydrophone from the cabin, but with the sonic screen still about them, that was now impossible. If some danger did threaten, they would be powerless to shout a warning to her. She reached the limit of the searchlight beam, turned and beckoned. As she swam on, Troy followed, just letting the motors tick over so that the big vessel was merely drifting in her wake. He concentrated on keeping her flashing feet just within the light zone, for he knew if he flooded Marina with light, she would not be able to see through the darkness ahead of her. Slowly, they crawled on into the unknown, following the course of the darker ribbon that was the canyon.
I guess Marina's people can swim through anything.
She's full of surprises. I wonder, was this the subterranean river that Pharassalon traveled in his Poseidon from that lake he called Avernus?
If it is, does it still flow into some kind of lost world of Kronos?
Troy, that shadow, what is it?
Marina, look out!
A giant squid! Fire a sting missile!
Too late! It's too near her now. The blast would kill her.
There must be something we could do. Oh, Marina!
Marina sensed the danger. She twisted. Her lovely eyes opened wide with terror as she saw that hideous shape descending on her. Flashing through the water at a speed no surface swimmer could have equaled, she struck out for Stingray. The squid, 40 feet long with tentacles trailing out far behind it, was taken by surprise at her sudden change of direction. Swiftly turning and unworried by the searchlight, it came after Marina with gleaming saucer eyes on its prey. Troy had the hatch of the airlock open, ready for Marina to dart inside, but she was glancing over her shoulder desperately now, as if afraid she would not make it. He felt panic rising as he felt she wouldn't. The squid was traveling with the speed of a Sting missile and with as deadly a purpose. Accelerating to meet her would be no solution, for the bow wash might thrust her aside to become an easy prey to those huge suckered arms. Suddenly, Marina twisted again, diving at a right angle towards the dark gap of the canyon below. Again, the squid was caught by surprise and was unable to turn in time. Propelled by the powerful thrust of its water siphon, it struck Stingray a glancing blow that made it shudder from bow to stern. Then the cephalopod rebounded into the darkness, beyond the range of the searchlight beam.
Maybe that'll make him sheer off.
There it is! It's diving down after her!
I'm going after Marina.
But Troy!
Don't argue, Phones. Give me a hand with my swim gear. Atlanta, a harpoon gun. Quickly!
Swiftly they responded. A few moments later, Troy was plunging from the airlock, diving down into the darkness which had already swallowed Marina and the squid. His heart seemed in his throat as he searched the depths in the beam of his headlight. Had the monster already seized Marina? Once those powerful tentacles got a grip on her slim body, there could be no hope for her. The suckers would never release their hold, and the giant, savage beak would do the rest. The narrow shaft of light at last picked out a loathsome sack-like shape, squirming above a cluster of big boulders on the canyon floor. There was no vegetation to act as a screen. Recklessly, he dived down, shining the light at it and shouting as loud as he could. The creatures of the deep were responsive to sound, and even a shark could be scared off by noise. He saw a malevolent eye the size of a platter gleaming in the light beam. Then there was a black spurt, and the illuminated area began to cloud over rapidly as the squid emptied its sepia sac as a protective screen. But before he lost sight of it, he had seen that one of the tentacles was anchored firmly to a boulder, and another was groping between the cluster of big rocks as if seeking to winkle something out from among them. He dived straight through the inky cloud, aiming for the point where he had seen that gleaming eye. As the tip of a tentacle flashed through the gloom towards him, like the striking head of a giant cobra, he triggered the harpoon gun. The needle-like projectile, with its small explosive barb, flashed into the murk, and Troy flung himself away and round in order to escape the shock of the blast. But in that instant, the tentacle gripped his leg, dragging him back. Another whipped out to supplement the grip of the first. Desperately, he drew his knife. Even as he hacked at the tentacles, he heard the harpoon warhead explode, and he knew from the sound that it had found its target in the eye and possibly the brain of the monster. He felt a wave of shock go along the tentacles that gripped him as vibrations filled the water. They did not release their grip. Other tentacles thrashed the cloudy water, stained now by the creature's blood. It seemed that the tentacles that held him were trying to rend him apart. Heart pounding, he somehow got the harpoon gun round again in line with the squid's murk-shrouded head and fired it at the base of the tentacles. A second later, he heard it do its lethal work. A shudder racked the squid. It heaved up, tentacles flailing. Troy was flung through the water with a force that jarred every bone in his body and sent a wave of nausea sweeping through him. A red mist floated before his eyes. When his vision cleared, he saw with relief that the squid, ghastly head shattered, was drifting slowly upwards, lifeless tentacles trailing behind, as if reaching back to some lair below the waters.
Troy to Stingray, can you hear me? The squid's dead. It's food for the other terrors now. Marina, great hiding place. You're welcome. You've done the same for me plenty of times in the past, Marina. Come on, let's get back to Stingray in case that nightmare's got any messmates floating around. You want me to come down there, huh? You've discovered something?
Marina dived between the rocks and a moment later came up holding what looked like a small urn. As his light caught it, he saw it glint with a dull yellow tinge and knew instantly it was gold, for no other metal would have remained under the water for long without rusting or corroding. Engraved on the urn were hieroglyphs, which looked identical to those from the vellum-bound book in which Pharassalon had written his account of the end of Kronos.
This could have been washed down a riverbed and become lodged among these boulders. It's a miracle it's not buried under feet of silt, but I guess the boulders might have diverted the river and protected it. Let's see if there are any more lying around.
But Troy knew miracles didn't happen as often as that, even at the bottom of the ocean, and he searched without much hope. There was no lack of tiny, grotesque life down here. Pink-colored worms, about 5 feet long, with bristles and feelers, burrowed into the mud at their approach. Brittle stars writhed on their 5 arms, as if executing fantastic ballet steps. Sea urchins lay like spiky, reddish, moss-covered stones. A weird fish, with a gaping, long-toothed mouth, flapping appendages instead of fins, and eyes on stalks above its head, darted from among the rocks when they reached them. Marina showed Troy where she had found the urn, wedged between two rocks, well above the ocean floor, while she was crouching to evade the groping tentacle of the squid. They found no other treasures from the long-lost civilization that Troy was now convinced had once existed on the frozen landmass above them.
We'd better get back to Stingray. They'll be worried stiff about us, even though they must have seen the squid's body float up.
Troy was right, for on their way up, they met phones swimming down to search for them. Atlanta's hazel eyes filled with tears of relief when she saw them returning unharmed. In the cabin, they examined the urn more closely. There was no doubt now about the hieroglyphs.
Seems like we're on the right trail. This canyon must once have been the bed of a river running out of Antarctica. Or Kronos, I hope.
Once, but it must have been thousands of years ago. An earthquake could have sealed off the river. There may be no way into the landmass now.
Well, I guess there's a simple way to find out, Phones. We'll follow that canyon to its source, and if we find fresh water flowing out, would anybody rather we went back and reported what we've found so far to headquarters? Okay, let's go.